I wanted to take some time this week to discuss how we can practice presence with our children, starting with babies, because the levels of that practice are going to change from one age group to the next, because children, of course, are incredibly busy and it's not always possible to have the same practice with kids depending on our lives, how many kids there are. But I do want to emphasize that it is possible, and that if you have the ability and the privilege of being able to start this practice at a very young age when they're first brought into this world, then you have a real great advantage of how that might look for you as time goes on. I currently have my first grandchild. He is 7 months old. And as a conscious human, I've really recognized the beauty of this time in my life of having an influence on him and how consciousness can play into the type of human that he grows up to be in this world. Now, I'm fortunate enough to live on the same property as my daughter, and I get to see him each and every day. And so, this is something that I've put into practice whenever it is that I have him to myself. So, if I grab him for a couple of hours, I'll say, for instance, go down to the beach where I can, take a walk along the beach with him so that he's calm and he gets to observe everything around him. And then I'll take him out of the buggy and take him down to the actual beach where we'll have some time to spend together. How I spend my time with him is quite different than, say, how maybe other people spend their time with their babies. At this point in his life, one of the things that I've noted about him is that he is an incredibly observant baby. He doesn't dialogue a lot, but he does have this tendency to really look around and just pay attention to what's happening around him. And so I've really honed in on that by allowing him to have an experience of whatever it is that we're doing without using words to dialogue what we're doing. And that can be really incredibly difficult, because if you love babies as much as I do, then you know that that high pitched tone, goo goo gaga, is really something that you have to sort of like hold back from doing and squeezing and kissing them. But what I'm trying to allow him to have is the space to explore the world without the confusion of language coming in. And I'm not saying that this is something that you would be doing, 24 hours a day. That's not possible. But if you can dedicate a certain pocket of time to having an experience with him, whether that's out in nature, whether that's at home, where you're simply just present with each other without the need to have to use words to communicate, something profound really happens. And that is a connection of consciousness that you end up having between each other. So I'll take his shoes and his socks off and let his little feet in the sand. I'll let him pick up the sand and run it through his hands while he's sitting, between my legs. And I'll do the same thing so that he can watch me and then try to emulate what it is that I'm doing on his own. And then perhaps we'll move over to where there's more rocks in the area. I might pick up a rock, put it in his hand, get him to touch the rock. And I'm not saying anything to him at this point. I'm allowing him to have this experience without the need of having to turn his head around to see what my mouth is saying, because this is something that babies are really at this stage doing. There's a connection that they're trying to make between learning what something is and focusing on your mouth at the same time, making the sound and the words. And if we're busy off on the next thing, what we don't understand is there's a delay in time there that they need to process that information, which is why I really feel it's so important to slow life down at this age so that they can enjoy things in a space of time that doesn't make it feel like everything is quick, 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 learn, 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 off to the next thing. And that is the type of space that I'm really trying to create for him when I have him by myself. And so I might throw the rock and throw the rock and throw the rock. until he starts to understand. Now, he can't throw the rock like I'm throwing the rock, but he's trying to do what it is that I'm doing at that moment in a different way. And it is such an incredibly beautiful place to be with them, where you don't feel the need to use words to sort of further the experience that you're having with them within this space. And it's an exchange of consciousness. And consciousness is so incredibly powerful, especially when you have kids, because they are the epitome of consciousness at this age. They are the epitome of presence at this age. It's the world that distracts them. It's the world that makes them forget the beauty of all of that, that takes them out of that element and puts them into the state that humanity has been in for most of our lives. And if you're a conscious human, if you have awakened to consciousness, and you have the opportunity to see life differently, then you also have the opportunity to really help your children have the fullest experience of what that can be like, that differentiates from how we were raised, from how the world tells us that we need to be with our children. So even when I'm spending time babysitting him at home, I don't distract myself with television or with my phone, none of that. I simply become present with him. I might play music more around, say, soft music, lullabies, that kind of thing in the background to sort of create some ambiance between us. And then I'll just sit him in my lap and we will play together again without dialogue. I might hand him a toy, allow him to use his tactile senses to pick up that toy, put it in his mouth. If he wants to make noises and talk and all that kind of stuff, that's great. I might run my hand over his head, touch his little face with my finger, rub his hands or his toes or any of that. But all I really want to do is just be present with him. And the exchange that him and I have had is profound. It's really hard to explain what happens when we're in this moment or in this space. I don't take one thing for granted when I'm with him, because I'm choosing to have this opportunity, a second opportunity of really being able to hold my child again, really is what it feels like as a grandparent, and have this moment of space and time where I can really look at life through his eyes, through his wonderment, through his awe. And that means that I hang up all the other things that I'm bringing into the picture for the moment, for the time being, so that I can practice stillness when I'm with him. And I understand that this aspect of what it is that I'm enjoying with him right now is not going to last forever. He's going to continue to grow. He's going to continue to be busier and busier and be more and more inquisitive, where words are going to be needed. But that doesn't mean that my being present with him stops there. What it does mean is that I may have to change how I do things, but I will consciously continue to help him understand what being present in this moment is and what it feels like to be conscious within that. And so I will talk a bit more about what that might look like in the next stage of a child's growth, how we can continue to be present with our children and teach them all about the beauty of presence as well too. So stay tuned for that. Much love and light.